Welcome back to It Tastes Like Burning, this Matt.
This is Jesse.
And as the usual, thanks for joining us on the It Tastes Like Burning podcast. If you ever feel like reaching out to us, find us on Patreon, Facebook. By this point, you've already been a listener. You're probably smart enough to figure out what name to search for and all of these uh, entities and possible subscribing and liking links. Those are always appreciated if you ever do participate in any of those activities. Believe it or not, they benefit us.
And there's this thing called a description,
There's that.
and it's all there, including merch. Like we may have the best coffee mug produced by mankind at this moment.
Really.
It's really nice. I have one at the house. It's okay. T-shirts were a little lacking on. They didn't come out the way we wanted. We pulled a bunch of those off of the store, but hopefully we'll get those back up before too long. Get a little better quality on that.
How about the personalized foot massager?
Yeah, we haven't got that yet, but we do have some small 1-ounce glasses. They're really nice. Really good logo on those.
Clean, straight.
Yeah, it's good. Good.
And if you ever need a recommendation for anything to use in a possible It Tastes Like Burning
Small
person-
beverage.
personalized drinking device, I'd recommend Lagavulin 16 or a Lafroy. I personally prefer the 12 over the 10, but I'm one of the few people on the planet that likes Lafroy, so both of those literally taste like burning.
Yeah, no. That is a way to describe it. Yes.
Any of the Isla scotches, I would actually highly recommend for using with your It Tastes Like Burning drinking device.
Yeah.
Or if you're like me, you can use a decanter.
Yeah, or a bucket.
So, what do we have on the agenda?
So we got a few housekeeping things that we just need to throw out there. So I guested on the Hot Takes SFMA Hot Takes podcast here a few weeks ago, a month ago that was recorded. That's out now. I'd appreciate everybody bouncing over there. It's only on Spotify, so you got to go to Spotify. You got to look for that. SFFMA Hot Takes. We talk about all kinds of stuff. It was pretty good. It's probably I have a tendency to ruin her plan of having a 10 or 15 minute podcast, so it turned out to be about an hour long.
That is a consequence of involving us in anything.
Right. Oopsie. And then Greg, the Divine Office of the Divine Fire Chief. He was also on there. He's got a podcast called Flames and Flavors Firehouse Cooking. And then just talking shop, just firehouse talk around the firehouse table, eating some good food. So
I actually saw Kim down at the Safety conference. She was there with the SFFMA booth. And also saw Kevin and Vicky. Vicky does a lot of work with the Safer grants for PPE and advertising and recruitment. So Kim was out there stalking amongst the crowd, trying to tackle any volunteers she could find. And then I didn't see Greg, and I didn't see
no, he wasn't there.
Chief Sullivan either, Stephen or Greg.
Yeah,
but both of them aren't ESDs. So
yeah. Well, Greg gets money, ESD money. But it's a small percentage of what is. He's just contracted to them, so he's not heavily involved with the ESD. He just takes their cash, right?
Right.
So, but that jump out there and look at that. It was a great conversation. We talked about a lot of things and upcoming training that three of us are working on for just a fire department marketing and social media class that I think has some benefit to some folks. Hopefully there's a lot of interest in it. Lots of places wanting to host that class and that training. So I'm looking forward to getting out on the road and teaching some of that coming up in the next few months. And hopefully we'll be teaching that at conference in Frisco in June, amongst having a podcast in Frisco in June, and then the other kind of commitments that Matt and I both have at conference. He's got some, and then we have some, and then I have some. So we'll be busy at conference the whole time. But love to see you if you're in Texas. That's a key one to go to. Is that SFFMA conference? Like I said, it's in Frisco. It's June 26th, 7th, 8th, something like that. 5th, 6th, 7th,
Yes,
8th.
so I haven't looked at the dates. I know it's the end of June.
End of June. And it's always a good time. There's lots of good training, lots of good classes. I would
It's
suspect.
networking too, though.
Oh yeah.
I mean, part of this is sharing the burden, finding other people that are just as miserable as you are.
Right. And that's something that's real important, the networking side of it. So Matt and I, through our travels and networking and the life of the podcast and going around, last year we went to Louisiana to their state convention and did a show. We recorded a show there. It wasn't live, it was recorded, and then we published it basically the same day that we completed getting all the recordings together, right? But we had the greatest opportunity to meet one of the coolest dudes that you could ever find on the face of the earth that was a fireman, and it's Chief Cook.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, God Almighty! You talk about a man that leaves an impression.
Yeah. No, just phenomenal guy, phenomenal story. You should go back and find that. It's there. It says Louisiana. Like, find that episode. Listen to the part with Chief Cook, and then we learned this last week that Chief Cook got nominated for the position of the administrator of the U.S. Fire Administration. So
and I couldn't imagine not really being absolutely familiar with the level and quality of people that should be nominated for federal directorships, but Jesus, I mean, I've literally met no one else that is more adequately appropriate or personally appropriate for that position. I that that is what all government positions need.
Yeah.
Someone that is actually literally an expert and personable and wants to see the industry thrive and grow and cherish the brotherhood and be all that you can be. I mean, God Almighty, this man top to bottom is the definition of the guy you want in the spot. That's nothing against the other candidates. I'm sure they're fantastic people.
Right.
But unfortunately for
We
them,
know
I
this
didn't
one.
get to meet them.
Yeah, we know this one. And even in the short time, we probably spent, I don't know, maybe a couple hours with him between just the pre-conversation, the
I'd
recording,
say
the post-conversation.
hour and 45 minutes, 3 hours, somewhere in there.
Yeah, just somewhere in there. And just the time we spent with him and his story, and we captured, kind of an A to Z story with him of his progression through the fire service and what all he's done, and it's all there. Go listen to that episode. I don't do it justice by talking about it.
Yeah.
You have to listen to it and just realize that a lifetime of dedication and energy and effort can at some point pay off in big ways.
I
right?
literally hope that he takes it. I hope that he gets nominated. I hope he takes it.
Yeah.
Because if he does, I swear to Christ, we are going to Washington, D.C.
to
do
just
a
hang out
podcast.
we'll just hang out in his office, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and it may only be 5 minutes. I don't care.
Yeah. And the great thing is he'll say, "Oh, those boys from Texas." Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He will remember, and he's that guy. Like he's going to want to.
Because damn it, no one's had a guided tour from the U.S. Fire Administrator through Washington, D.C. on a podcast. We will be first. I swear to Christ, we will make this happen.
Yeah, hopefully. So, I don't know if you're Donald Trump and you're listening, and
Probably not Donald.
yeah,
Maybe
but maybe
Barrett.
the senators or whatever, and you're gonna look at chief cook for that position. Yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, just an incredible man with an incredible story, and it's a travesty he got old.
Yeah,
Because if he could live for the next 10,000 years and have something brand new and fresh and beneficial to offer for all 10,000 years.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. He's fantastic.
So our support's behind him for what
Yeah.
it's worth. It's worth about as much as nothing, but yeah, but we like the guy.
And if you do happen to know a federal Congress senator or a House member, by all means, don't be afraid to throw your support behind that one.
Yeah. And while we're on Senate and national politics, so it's my understanding that AFG and all that's kind of paused right now, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, but that would be true with
Anything, right?
any administration. I mean, even if you go to like the most, I'm trying to think of the most placid handover in like history. When you have one administration handing off to another, new people have to get in place, on and on. This is to be as expected. Uh, I think this year offers a whole new perspective on the anticipation who may end up in different director roles and who's on X, Y, and Z committees. But yeah, everything's kind of on hold right now. Don't wig out over it. It's typical. Um, I could see this particularly grant being delayed, but so is everything else.
Yeah. I think the good things will come back around. I'm honestly incredibly biased, right? That I think this is a good thing because it affects me, right? And whatever the lizard studies of the Amazon doesn't affect me. I don't care about that,
Right.
right? But this affects me. So I honestly think it's a worthy cause, but maybe it gets better. I don't know. I don't
Aha. I think you're being overly optimist. But at the end of the day, let's be optimistic.
Yeah.
I still think somehow or another the state of Delaware is going to have 500 total awards over the rest of the U.S. with 200 awards.
Yeah.
That in itself would be refreshing just if that got cleared up.
Yeah. No, and the other part of that is there's talks about the demise of FEMA and all that stuff, which I'm not getting deep into the weeds on any of that, and it's your opinion's your opinion and whatever, I don't care, but
Even we won't cross that bridge.
I won't cross that bridge. But even if an agency like FEMA were to go away, a program like this may not, right? Because it does have local impact and it's stateside.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not helping, the Afghani fire department. It's literally doing what government's supposed to do.
right. And I mean, I know I took kind of a cheap dig there, but realistically, I don't see any real, other than the delay, and that is what it is. Other than the delay, I don't see any real quote unquote cuts coming to something like AFG. That just doesn't make any sense. That said, I would assume AFG is attached to FEMA.
Yeah, no, it is.
So
Yeah, Safer and AFG are both attached to FEMA. So
I mean, those are pretty rock solid programs. I'm not the most in tune, in depth person in the fire industry grant system, but I don't know of any
Yeah.
like quote unquote shenanigans associated with it. I mean, the city of Detroit was hurting several years ago, and AFG was a significant boon to them. I know of a lot of really small, very rural areas that got a lot of love from AFG, and they made a huge difference there. So,
And even, of course, Detroit's a big city, but other big cities, like it's made its rounds. It's helped a lot of departments fill some gaps. It's a beneficial. It's doing what government is supposed to
yeah,
do.
it's a force for good. Novel concept.
Right. Yeah. Now, could it be more efficient? Probably. Yeah, there's probably ways to make things more efficient. There usually is. And, you know, we also got to remember we're from the government. We're here to help.
Right.
So, you know, it moves at the speed of smell and it's terribly inefficient. You got to follow the rules of government purchasing, right? What is that, Matt?
Buy two at twice the price.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Why
that's
buy
what I
one?
would. Why buy one when you can buy two at twice the price?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so for everyone that's out there kind of anxious, speaking about grants, take it to a state level. For Texas, there's actually a lot of movement in Texas uh on the oh my god. Yeah,
2604.
the House Bill 2604. The scary and terrible thing. Ooh, there's three things on this. One of them scares me to crap. Uh I'll talk about the first one though. So the state of Texas goes through a 2-year legislative process. Right now, the House and the Senate are deriving their, for lack of better words, their funding bills, and the Senate of Texas is covering the $200+ million delay on the AFG on the Texas Forest Service grant assistance to volunteer fire departments for apparatus, the backlog on apparatus. The House bill does not have that $200 million expenditure in their bill. So the Senate and House have to go into a reconciliation on that specific budget amendment to be able to adopt that. I've been trying to pay as much attention to that as possible, but quite frankly, there's not a lot of word coming out of Austin on that. Um, I
Frank,
pray,
frankly, it's early.
yes, very early. I still wish we could figure out how to make a field trip to Austin is a goodwill trip to help.
Well, it's literally drive there, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I
but you
do have
can't
a
just.
buddy that's a Texas House rep.
Well, we need to. We do. We need to go. Damn it, we sit here and talk about this crap. We need to go down there and actually try and help
Yeah.
because, quite frankly, at least then what we're preaching actually makes a damn difference. The other catastrophically scary thing, and I need to know more about this, so I'm going to tell you what I know, and half of what I know is probably wrong, and the other
It's
half's made
conjecture.
up.
Yeah.
Um, but Governor Abbott is threatening legislation that would require any municipality that wants to pass a bond has to have a 2/3 majority for the bond to pass. No, please don't do that. That's a really terrible idea. Like, if you want to force it, force the only bond elections can be held during November when there's more voters that are going to be at the polls. But 2/3 majority, I'm telling you right now, write it on a postcard, put it in an envelope, date it, and put it on the wall because that will come down.
Yeah.
No one's going to get a damn bond passed.
Yeah, and cities and counties and smaller government entities, they have to have financing, right? It's just part of the nature of what it is. I mean, they're doing infrastructure projects that last, the lifespan of the infrastructure's 100 years,
Right.
and it costs $1 billion. Well, they don't have the cash. They're not able to front the cash for something like that. They can finance it for 30 years and it still has 70 years of life left in it. I good friends of mine, they're in a fire station. They're struggling with the city to try to figure out how to fund building a new fire station. That fire station was commissioned and built in the late 20s, early 30s. So I think
Okay, I think went and visited that
yeah,
station.
yeah. So it's getting to the 100-year mark, right? And it's never was meant to support the staffing level that it has. Like, it was never meant to have that many people living in it.
Does it still have hay racks?
No, it doesn't have hay racks anymore, but it's obviously old, and you look at it and it's obviously old. And it's deteriorating, right? 100 years of life in a building, even though it was built extremely well when it was built 100 years ago. We do have to remember that was 100 years ago, or thereabouts, right? Even if it was 29, that's 96 years ago or 95 years ago or whatever.
Pop quiz. Who was president 100 years ago?
Would that have been Wilson?
No, because he would have been. Okay, Roosevelt would have been like the early 1900s. Taft, Roosevelt. I think that was Wilson. 19. When was the Lusitania thing? 17 and 19.
Yeah. My brain won't brain right now, so it's
So, yeah, well, we've had enough dilution. Yeah, it may have been Woodrow Wilson. Who was after Wilson? Garfield?
yeah.
No,
No.
not Coolidge. Who was before Coolidge? Oh my God.
Yeah.
People were smart, but we're not this smart. Jesse's checking the calculator and dividing by 0, and we'll have an answer pretty quick.
So it wouldn't have been Wilson. It would have been after Wilson because he died in 24.
Would it have been Warren G. Harding?
Let me just do another search. U.S. presidents.
I'm pretty sure it was
In
Harding.
order.
I'm going to go with Harding.
Presidential timeline. Here's what we want right here.
I'm going to fill the dead space by saying.
So 29 would have been Coolidge and then Hoover.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Hoover was before Coolidge?
No, Wilson, Harding, Coolidge, Hoover. So Hoover would have been taking over in 29. Coolidge would have went to 29.
Okay. So who is president in 1925?
25 would have been Coolidge.
Okay.
23 to 29.
So I had my presidents backwards.
Yeah. So
I went Coolidge. I went Harding Coolidge, but it's Coolidge Harding.
it's Harding, Coolidge, Hoover. Harding was 21 to 23.
Oh, that's right. He died on the train in Pueblo, Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah.
From a stroke.
Yeah.
Long, interesting pause moving forward.
Yep.
So, needless to say, you should be impressed with the fact that we got like 3 of the 5 names there.
And we were in the right era.
Yes.
Yeah.
That basically makes us vice president material.
Yeah, we got close. We were in the ballpark.
And yeah, don't lie to yourself. If you're listening still, Don't lie to yourself.
You had no idea.
You had no idea.
Yeah. You had no idea.
But yeah, all joking aside, I mean, your state stuff you need to pay attention to.
Because I mean, not only does it matter, and I know that Texas, as I've learned more about other states and how their mechanisms for funding and their state programs and stuff work for their BFDs specifically, like I do realize we have it pretty awesome in Texas.
Yeah, no, way, 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 way above board on this.
Right.
Like, I just came off a sales trip in Oklahoma. I'm sorry, Oklahoma. You guys try hard. You need to do better. Like, oh my God, they work up there,
Yeah.
and I just wish that. But I mean, even at a local level, particularly because we always talk about how dirty, rotten, spoiled we are. You know, our own membership doesn't realize how lucky we have it at a local level, much less regional, district, state level, or even national. And you know, for the departments out there that are lucky enough to be in Texas, understand how lucky we are. And I realize you might be as broke as a church mouse. Understand that's luck.
Yeah.
Like, you're much better off than, you know, equivalent department in Oklahoma.
Well, and a department's lack of utilizing the resources available is not a representation of the whole.
Right. Now, along the lines of what you're talking about, that's a lot more likely in Texas than in Oklahoma or Louisiana. A lot
Yeah.
more likely.
Yeah. Well, it's that independent Texas nature, right?
Right.
Yeah. Truly independent.
And I don't know, you know, at least in our area, because we live outside of one of the largest metroplexes, not only in the US, but in the world. So just by proxy, we're going to be a little more involved in the news and information cycle if you're remotely paying attention. There's some big, wide open spaces in Texas, and it's pretty easy to crawl into a corner and put the blinders on and stuff some earplugs in and just be like, well, it sucks.
Yeah. And there's nothing we can do about it.
No. No. You're the one that's going to have to crawl to the light. The light's not going to move to you.
What else is going on, Matt?
Oh God. Now you really caught me off
Oh,
guard with
it's
that.
all of it, right?
So I just came back from pretty long on the road trip. 2 weeks ago I was at Taffy, the Texas Association of Fire Educators. Best conference I've ever been to for firefighting ever.
Excellent.
Period.
So sad I missed that.
Bar none. Speakers, fantastic. The conference was fantastic. The vendors, in which I was one of them, the conference took care of the vendors, which is a really refreshing concept. I think all the guests had a really good time. Wide variety on talks. So the very first day was a lot of just like mental health and how to set up programs for your organization. And of course, you sit there kind of, from my perspective, wringing your hands in worry, but you're like, oh God, we're already doing a lot of this. Oh Jesus, what are we forgetting? You know, and then you talk to a department right next to you, behind you, and they're 500 firefighters, and they're like, oh yeah, no, we don't have anything like this. And it's like, oh, really? Do you have a problem with this? And they're like, oh yeah, no, it's a deal. And you're like, oh well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Uh, second day was a lot about Uh, Communication, how to communicate, building your team, uh, building your leadership. Shout out to Andy Dexter on that. His talk was great. Um, there, it was really cool to see some really young speakers up there. And I'm at that point in my life where there's people younger than me that are up there being awesome. And it was really cool to see it. Uh, there's a young captain there in Corpus Christi. Guy's a fantastic speaker. Okay. Uh, Great talk. There's a battalion chief out of, I think it's Spring. I'd like him to be a guest speaker here for us. I don't know how we could call him or maybe set that up. I don't know if he's far enough in his career to be set up for like guest speaking, but he'd be a great one to bring in. Um, yeah, no, the conference was just fantastic though. Uh, Here's the unique concept on that. Every single person there I got along with really well and had really long, thorough discussions with because they're all about education.
Right. That's what I was going to touch on. Like it's literally in the name, right? It's the guys the guys that are into training
Yeah.
are into training. Like it's not a that is truly the selfless few that are part of the training community.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think of all the fire stuff I've ever been to, conventions, networking, regional associations, functions, I think Taffy's the big thing we've been missing out on.
Yeah. And it's so unsung, right? It's just kind of there.
Here's the big problem. There was almost no volunteer presence there. Well, I get it. It's a week-long conference, Monday through Saturday. League City, Granbury. That
Yeah.
was it. Who the hell's got a volunteer that can go to that?
Yeah.
You know, that's rare. And I will say, in every single survey and like synopsis and evaluation, I said, what about the volunteers? Your class is fantastic, but it doesn't address volunteers. I said that to every single one.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, who was the crowd? It was paid departments,
Right.
paid in combination.
And larger probably.
Uh,
As a general rule of thumb, it wasn't your 15-member career department.
no. Yeah. No, these were all bigger organizations.
Yeah. And colleges.
Yes.
Lots of folks from colleges.
Yeah. Uh, Lots of colleges from the Houston area, the Gulf Coast area. Amarillo College was there.
Yeah, I know Tarrant County was there.
Yeah, they had a very large contingent.
Teeks was there. Like there was a lot of good folks there. And it's all the good folks that we tend to like and enjoy being around anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, hell, for me, I was kind of like a duck in water there.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny behind me. Uh, I do have like almost divine touch when it comes to being able to be at a conference to sit next to the organization that I need to sit next to. So at the table behind me was Grand Prairie, and I was talking to two division chiefs for Grand Prairie, and uh, in one of the discussions was kind of a group thing. So I just turned around and looked at him, and I've been like, I'm completely opposite of you, but here's my problems. and they start laughing. And they're like, those are our problems too. And the general question is what is your biggest obstacles that you face right now? And it was funding and politics, and I don't even remember what the other one was. And they're like, oh, no. Yeah, this is us to a T.
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny having that moment where Grand Prairie is a very large department here in Texas, well established, professional. They kick ass, take names, they do well, and they're having the same problem as just a schmuck volunteer.
Yeah. We do lean on that schmuck volunteer probably a little more than what we should, but
No, I overemphasize that.
yeah.
Like I there's more than a gimmick to it. There really is.
Yeah.
Because what I really get on the back end of that is how are you this? And I'm like, well, X, Y, and Z. And then the next question is how do you manage that? And it's like, well, I don't. I have lots of really good people that manage it, and then they report to me. And I let them run it however they want.
Yeah.
I very rarely step in. I can't. Hell, the organization's too damn big. I feel like I'm 3 weeks behind on everything at this point. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it
You're
is
not
what it
3
is.
weeks behind. It may feel that way, but you're not. Yeah, we are engaged enough that we know what's going on at pretty much any given moment within a day. A day would be the max, but yeah.
2
So,
days.
yeah, maybe.
But every now and then you get to be like leading the pack, kind of like on a discussion about POV response.
Right. Yeah.
So, pop quiz. You as chief of your organization get a text message from your city manager who funds 98% of your organization. And I am paraphrasing here, but he says, you're breaking the law and your people are idiots when they're behind the wheel of their own vehicle. Do something about it. Now, he did not say it in any way, shape, form, or manner that way. But it's like, oh, it appears someone screwed up. What do you do with that, Jesse? Oh, I'm sorry. You're reading the text message.
No, I'm playing with my mic cord.
Okay.
Yeah. You evaluate first, don't react first.
Yes.
One.
That
Right.
is not one of those things where you sit there and start typing.
Yeah.
You first off put your phone away down and immediately walk away.
Have some discussions, get some input. Turns out that maybe the law's not as black and white as what the person writing the message thought the law was, because they probably didn't actually read the law.
No.
They made some assumptions or got some information from somebody else that may or may not have been accurate and up to date. And then the reality is you got to dive deeper into it, right? The ultimate problem is somebody was an idiot.
Yes. No. That's is I've had this discussion now for 36 hours. The thing I want to highlight is that the city manager would have had no problems if the person driving who was POV wouldn't have done something that got the attention of city management. That is the thing that needs to be highlighted here. The state law is actually a moot point because whether the person operating the POV was correct or incorrect doesn't matter. You managed to gain so much attention to yourself that it drew the ire of city management. This we have a problem with. And this is something we need to actually react to. state law is number 2 in this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it'll play out. It's no big deal. It doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't make just really a whole lot of difference one way or the other.
So what you're saying is treat them like I did when I was in aviation, like the FAA, feed them shit and keep them in the dark.
Yeah, kind of.
No, don't do that.
Kind of, but not really, right?
You need to be proactive, okay? Because the fact of the matter is city management sent you something.
Yeah.
You need to actually highlight, because in this particular case, his problem, oddly enough, is not your problem. Your problem is that your membership, no matter what their lights they're driving with, was driving like a dumbass. That's what needs to be addressed here, not the lights. The lights are a distant second.
Yeah. And it would be false if we said we don't train on this, we don't address this. We do all those things, right? But you can't keep your thumb on the whole membership at every waking moment to make sure they're all making the best decision.
At all times.
You give them the tools to make the best decision, but ultimately they have to decide, and at some point that person is kind of responsible for some of it.
Wait a minute. You're telling me adulting is a thing?
Adulting is hard, and I refuse.
So does my membership.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole discussion involved in this. The thing I would probably urge is, pick your battles and then pick your war. At the end of the day, in our scenario where the city's funding 98% of our budget, is this really the hill you die on?
So
even if city management doesn't care what the state law is, they come back and say, damn it, the fact of the matter is we want you to use this in your response profile. State law says this. Their recommendation, their great ask is to respond this way. Do you tell them to go pound sand?
No, because ultimately it doesn't matter. In the end, it matters very little in the end to the actual my brain went blank, but the actual function of the department and the end goal.
Right. About the only place where I would draw the line in the sand is your ability to respond. Let's pretend that the dictation that comes down the pike is that you need to use a unicycle to respond.
Yeah.
What? That doesn't even make sense. But they want you to use a specific light profile. Let's say that they want you to use black lights and infrared lights to respond to the call. Pretty unusual, respond to the station for a call. It's a pretty unusual request, but at the end of the day,
it does
it really matter? Because the fact of the matter is that whatever vehicle you're in with flashing lights, it looks nothing like anything else that's on the road. It's an unusual setup. Okay.
And the reality is, and with our organization, and I can make this statement pretty confidently, if you're not physically at that station, the likelihood that you are out the door on a first out apparatus is nearly zero. It's not zero, but it's so close to zero you can't tell the difference, right? Maybe if you're catching yourself a block away and you're already driving there, maybe. But the reality is that it doesn't make that big of a difference. Now you could be on the second or third out apparatus,
or the first out for the
next
call.
Right. But it doesn't make that big of a difference. I'm really curious as to how, like, and realize that we made a pause to the use of lights on POVs based off of this discussion till we figure out what's going on and make some informed, actual rational decisions. But I'm curious to see what in that gap of that time, what the actual consequences are, because I don't think they're really that big.
No, I don't. The other thing that me and you are focusing on, and this is just a fact, driving in our town of Granbury is the equivalent of trying to cross no man's land in World War I.
Yeah, it's at the DMT in between the Koreas.
Yeah. I mean, it it is just short of Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome trying to navigate traffic here in a town of 12,000 people. Uh so the interjection of someone trying to run code it POV during peak traffic hours, which is 6 a.m. to about 8 p.m. I'm telling you, I I've never held a stopwatch to it. I'm telling you, when I say it's negligible, it's negligible.
Well, I can just tell you my average travel time from my house to my office, which is about, let's just call it 3 miles, maybe
It'd be,
4.
it's probably closer to 3.
Yeah, it's between 3 and 4 miles. Is about 25 minutes every morning. So just put that into, like, that's normal, following the laws, following the traffic signals, dealing with the traffic. That's normal. Like, so what if you shave 30 seconds off of it?
Yeah, you've accomplished nothing
Yeah.
but put 10,000 people at risk.
Right. And ultimately that's kind of it kind of goes back to a Hippocratic oath kind of mentality of it, right? Do no harm.
Yeah. And again, I want to double down. This wasn't an issue until retard cut
Did
off.
something harm, right?
Yeah,
Did some
did
harm.
did something that pissed off city management. The city manager. Okay. And good, bad, or indifferent, the fact of the matter is it makes a huge difference when city manager comes to chief and says X, Y, Z. It's not fair. It's not balanced. I don't care. The fact of the matter is the chief's going to immediately turn around, pop a drum into the old Tommy gun, and he's going to stare down the membership because that is what city management expects. And I don't know, it's kind of an awesome, interesting, stupid kind of twist.
Yeah.
It,
At the end of the day, it's it's the kids in the sandbox with the cat turds, right?
yeah.
That's all it is.
Don't
And
forget the shovels.
yeah, you got to have some shovels, but it doesn't. Is it going to cripple us operationally?
No, because no one can go anywhere anyways.
Yeah, right.
Because traffic sucks.
Is it going to? I mean, ultimately, is it going to make them feel better about it? Maybe. I don't know. At the end of the day, the problems are still the problems, right? You're still going to have the problem, even if nobody's using lights on a POV and they all go to the station. You still got to get from the station to the call,
Right.
and you're still dealing with the same traffic issues and the same
Do you know?
everything else. Now, granted, you've got some extra benefit of it. Actually, looks like a giant fire truck, right? But it's still the same battle from A to B.
Yeah, I mean, there's so I'm a fat Moses. Okay. It's 5 o'clock and a fire alarm comes across town. I take Tower One out into the sea of cars. There's a point where no one has anywhere to go. And alls I see is 5 lanes of traffic with a hard medium, and no one has anywhere place to go. And I emphasize the 5 lanes of traffic because it's 2 lanes and a shoulder, but it's really 6 lanes and a medium.
Yeah.
Okay. And in front of you is a mile and a half of a traffic jam. Do you sit there with your horn screaming, or do you just park? Turn the siren off and wait. There's nowhere anyone can go. Don't get me wrong. You talk about road rage inducing. You want to reenact scenes from Tony Montana.
Yeah.
Okay. But there's nowhere anyone can go. And damn it, don't cause an accident. Don't cause another emergency. Don't push traffic. There's nowhere for them to go. It's okay. Just stop.
Well, and I've seen it firsthand, right? I've left out at that 5:15 from one side of town going to a fire on the other side of town, and literally not made it halfway through town before the crew from that side of town cancels everybody because they've already put the fire out and it's done.
Right.
And it's just like I literally did everything I could possibly do to get there, short of just ramming vehicles off the road. And it was a basically a failed attempt. Like, I didn't accomplish anything other than creating more chaos
Right.
and more hazard. And it, to me, it just, the juice isn't worth the squeeze sometime on, especially in our traffic situation.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. I mean, don't get me wrong, we complain incessantly about it, but that's all it is.
Yeah.
Now multiply that in a vehicle that's got an unusual light pattern and
Doesn't look like a,
doesn't look like a fire truck. Just take your time.
yeah.
I don't know. It's a very, very adult problem. I got to get my microphone fixed here. Sorry for the noise. It's a very adult problem. Okay. It's not something to go to war over. And I don't care what the state law is. If the city asks for a specific response profile, POV with your lights, how big of an ask is that?
Oh, and even if ultimately it becomes something where we decide that, hey, that's not going to work, we at least have to do our due diligence and do some research and understand and all that, right? It may turn out that yeah, we got to fight that battle, we've got to stand on that hill, but we don't know that initially going in. We're just making some assumptions, and it's based off of just uh emotion.
Right. Probably the biggest thing that I can do as a chief for the membership is sit there and argue to the city. We have no problem complying with this. It's literally something legally they can do. You need to give me time for them to purchase the lights they need to change. Okay. That's not that big of an ask.
Yeah.
I need time. The membership, I mean, again, city, you need to put this into perspective. Volunteers who do it for free are rushing to save your city. Okay. They are doing everything in their power to get to the station for you. So You got to give me some leeway here. They are buying these lights themselves. We need to give them time. Okay. It's a personal investment, just like their time for making calls. I don't see that big of a problem with saying, here's a 6-month, 8-month, 12-month plan to segue to red and white. Even though state law says that we can do red, white, and blue.
America.
Could be Dutch or French or
Specifically the Gulf of America.
it's on Google Maps. It's official.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother topic. I don't know how that happened, but that's awesome. And I'm gonna leave it at that. But yeah, I mean, whatever, first world problems, but realistically, it's the same as if you were funded by your HOA or by your county or Providence or whatever. They have a specific request. Do you have a knee-jerk reaction to it and be like, no, here's the law? Or do you just actually listen to what they want? How big of a deal is it to listen to what they want? Again, is this the hill to die on?
Probably not.
Probably not.
And I'm not a self-proclaimed lawyer or legal expert. I am a self-proclaimed astronaut. But that's a totally different deal.
Aerophysicist?
Yes, yeah. Trajectory master.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How do you argue against that? Yeah, I just, you know, and it's not, small departments can have this.
Oh, yeah, no, we had it where I came from. It was always a point of contention, and it's always going to be a point when you're doing something that everybody else isn't allowed to do, whatever that thing is, and you've got a special privilege that you're allowed to do something that everybody else wishes they could do. Let's be clear about that. They all wish they could turn that on, and traffic just gave them a path, right? There's going to be issues. People are going to have problems because you're basically saying I'm more special than you are, right? And that's always going to be a point of contention. It is. Now you can justify it in the 900 different ways you can justify anything that if you're making the argument for or against something, you can rationalize it, but at the end of the day, is it the end of the world? And that's kind of what I'm looking at. I don't see 6 of one, half dozen the other, right? It doesn't significantly make a improvement or a demise, a detriment either way.
You know, I just made a realization. Do you know how lucky we are that we get to have this argument?
Extremely.
Yeah. That means someone's paying attention.
Right.
I never literally made that connection until just now.
Yeah. The and just a helpful hint for any city managers or anybody out there that's wanting to complain about whatever that the VFD, get the license plate number, right? We can actually do something in reference to that individual and whatever they did, right? We can talk to that individual and we can do corrective training, corrective action, corrective
Let's go down
stuff.
that rabbit hole real quick. So, one of my members had no clue how close he was to being
He almost touched son?
Yeah, thoroughly detained. So late night response, early morning response. and he's doing mock Jesus down a backside road. Well, unfortunately for him, one of the local police saw him and they clocked him. Okay. He was going so fast that there was no way they could catch him. So by the time they remotely got up to him, he was pulling into the parking lot of the fire station. Thankfully, law enforcement reached out to me. I turned around and called the individual and told him, here's the officer that was ready to beat you to death with the baby seal club. Okay. This is the speed that he clocked you at. You're going to call him and you're going to personally apologize. Okay. And I swear to Christ, if you ever do this again, I will terminate you from the department. Here's the letter, sign it, because we've talked about this. This is the discipline. This is the discussion. Your discipline is you're going to call that cop and fall on the sword, and you're going to tell him how stupid you are and how you're never going to do it again. Okay?
And then follow that up with don't actually do it again.
Right. Like, you can't do it again. And the big benefit off of that is that law enforcement, even though they very desperately want to beat you to death with a hose filled with sand, and arguably they should.
But they don't have hoses. We do.
Yeah, we do. Okay. Is that we're building that relationship with our law enforcement agencies to know that even though our members occasionally are absent-minded and drive like dumbasses, that we are concerned about our public safety and that we will follow up with it if we know about it.
Right. Yeah, it's always a catch-22 on all those things, and I don't think there's any malintent with any of it. I don't think the firefighters have malintent. I don't think the law enforcement has malintent. I don't think the city manager has malintent. I think it's all based on
Public
safety.
Yeah.
And I think we all see things through a different glass and a different lens because that's what we're focused on. But at the end of the day, it's all public safety. Yeah. So the other couple things that have been kind of randomly happening is Matt and I did get to do some traveling here a couple weeks ago. We talked about that. Bounced out to a couple other departments. I made another trip to another department and talked to them about attending some training that we've got coming up. And our recruit academy, our rookie school, is blown up this spring. Normally we have big classes in the fall, small classes in the spring. Turns out our spring class is huge already, and we're still a few weeks out for startup on that. So it's going to continue to be growing and become more huge. People are traveling well over an hour to come to us and do training, which is insane. Absolutely insane that a volunteer is going to take their time, energy, effort, gas, money, bounce an hour drive to come do training, and everybody out there in the world that says that, oh, they won't do that because it's too much of a burden. You're wrong. You're just dead wrong. They'll do it all day long, every day, right? Not 100% of them will do it, but there's enough of them that'll do it that it'll make a difference. And Matt is typing like 90 to nothing on his phone. It's almost on fire.
Yeah. Few more minutes. Keep going.
Keep going. Yeah, I don't know if I can keep going forever, but yeah, we're that's busting at the seams. Looking forward to the beating that's coming from that, because not only does that mean we have to actually show up and do a good job teaching a class, but a bunch of us have to show up and do a good job teaching a class, right? Not just two of us.
Yes. No. Well, it goes back to something that you always say. Our sole job is to train our replacement.
Yep.
And if two people, for lack of better words, continue to only carry the torch, you're doomed for failure.
Yep.
If we were truly doing this perfectly, this is words for Gene. Have faith in the people you train below you.
And
Let them
have a
find
succession plan.
let them find their way. Okay? There's nothing more fulfilling than being given a personal, absolute, catastrophic disaster and finding your way through it. This is one thing that firefighting and aviation has in parallel. So there's a point in aviation where you either have to put up or shut up. Firefighting's the same way. You have to be able to put up or shut up. All of it's talk until it's time for action. And when it comes for time for action, you better be able to put up. And there is nothing wrong once you have a Jesse's point succession plan in place. Let the people that you're coaching, you're guiding, or technically below you, let them find their way. There's nothing wrong with that. And it makes them stronger as an individual. Probably the single most important thing in that is to turn around and give them positive reinforcement. Make sure that they know that their efforts recognized and that you realize they did the most that they possibly could in that given situation. The very last thing is to legitimately give them constructive input. What did they do right? What do they need to improve on? They'll be very receptive of that.
I go back to a conversation I had in Austin here a few weeks ago with a few folks down there, and we were talking about building value into the member, right? So,
Right.
talking about fear leadership versus trust leadership and building value into the individuals and into the members. And I would, without a doubt, and you can take this to the bank, the departments that are building value into their members are the ones that are thriving, which coincides with the ones that are training are also the ones that are thriving, because that's basically the easiest way to build value into your membership, right? It's training.
Yes.
100% the easiest way to do it.
Well, not only value, but again, competency.
Right. So, you look at some of the departments that you see on Facebook that are doing really well, and they're tackling these problems, and they're growing, and they're doing a good job. And you can leave us completely out of this picture. The rest of them that are doing a good job, they're building value into those people.
Yeah, no, and that's the ultimate gauge to our success. Obviously, I don't want this, but if me, you, and Gene died tomorrow, the department would be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, would there be some rocky patches in there? Sure. Okay.
But it doesn't go belly up.
But the fact of the matter is that I can guarantee you we've already met our responsibility in getting the people below us prepared for the positions ahead of them.
Well, they're going to have a big old battle who that is, but it's going to be glorious.
Okay, so we should kill the chiefs and the captains.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be intense, But you're right. It's such a basic concept that it's beyond me how it's so easily overlooked.
Yeah.
And it's it's easy.
Well, particularly on the volunteer side,
Yeah.
because one thing I've learned on the volunteer side, classically the gray-haired wise old man. Ooh, sorry. Like, I'm telling you, I got a 22-year-old kid that'd take you for your money on the balancing scales of potential, skill, knowledge, and opportunity.
Right.
Like, you put the right time and energy into your membership, yeah, it turns out you got a whole stable loaded. You've got a lot of horses that can run that race.
And the other glorious thing about it, and we'll call it glorious, is that sometimes those horses go somewhere else and they become the leaders of your neighboring departments.
Ooh, I like where you're going with this,
Or
'cause I would have completely forgot about this.
yeah,
Yeah.
they go and they thrive in other environments besides yours.
Yeah.
But they picked up the skills that allow them to do that inadvertently, most cases, right?
Right.
They didn't realize that they were picking up these skills, but they picked up these skills through your efforts that they carry on to the next place that life takes them.
Right.
And that's phenomenal, right? You're spreading the impact of doing the right thing for the right reasons at the right time with the right people to a circle bigger than your own.
Right. And this'll be whatever, humble brag. It's really, it's humbling, it's refreshing when the person that Jesse's just describing right there calls you and says, "Hey, I just got promoted to this position. Do you mind if I call you?" Like, I don't know of a bigger compliment that you can have as a volunteer.
Anybody in life in general.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the kicker. I Alls I want is success for them. One, because they need it. And two, I want this person to go out there and kick ass and take names. The only problem that he's going to face is that he's a young man. And most young men have a tendency to just snap. And the irony in this is that if there's anyone that's a patient, silent, waiting below the ice serial killer,
It might be him.
it's him.
Yeah, I'm also the guy that you ask me what I'm doing at about 8:30 in the morning, I might tell you trying to prevent homicide.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I just, that's our goal. And I think that's part of our, well, that's an understatement. It's not part of our success. The reason that we have found so much success is, at the end of the day, don't get me wrong, it's self-centered. We do it for us. The difference is we don't hoard the information.
Well, and we don't hoard the accolades either.
Right.
That that that's a big part of it. That you'll never you'll it's going to be so rare that you ever hear Matt or I say that I did this.
Oh no. I'm telling you straight now. If I did it, I'm lying.
If it's somebody didn't take out the garbage, yeah, I did this.
Yeah.
Right? somebody stopped up the toilet, I definitely did that. But
Literally.
yeah, but to take full credit, or I don't disclude myself from the credit, but I definitely don't take the credit. That's a we did that. So
Well, so let's emphasize that real quick. Where do you take credit? When you're talking to city council,
yeah,
city management, county commissioners, your ESD board, that's when you take credit. But that's the single most important time to acknowledge the people that made it happen. Like, you didn't do shit. Okay? You literally did nothing. You may have organized it, you may have scheduled it, you may have put together the plan, but I assure you, you didn't do it. Give credit where credit's due. Assume responsibility for everything.
Yeah.
Because that is your job. You are to be responsible for bad driving practices. That's going to be terrible.
Here.
Yeah. The old knife sharpening.
Knife sharpening while you're podcasting. It's great.
Okay. Your job as chief is to give credit to the organization and assume sole responsibilities for the failure of the organization. That's it.
Yeah, because basically you're expendable.
Yeah. And if you don't operate from that perspective where you're expendable, your job is to eat the bullet. That's it. That's the trade secret. Me and Jesse have had this conversation before. The chief's job is to eat the bullet to make sure the organization survives. And whether the membership knows or not that you're eating the bullet, it doesn't matter. And if you're not in that position to eat the bullet and that's your mindset, then I would encourage you to consider why eating the bullet is the best option.
Yeah, Jiffy, no nuts. Not chunky, creamy.
You sure?
Yeah, creamy Jiffy.
Extra oil?
Yeah.
Make it easier to swallow?
Yeah.
Yeah. I this is really advanced stuff that we're talking about here. It goes back to the quote. Difference between commitment and involvement is the ham and eggs breakfast. The pig was committed and the chicken was involved. When it comes to the nut cutting time, you're the pig, you're the chief. Eat that bullet when you have to if it makes the organization better. It doesn't matter what you personally think or your conviction or your morals. Eat the bullet. If it's better for the organization, eat the bullet.
Yeah.
Big quantitative step there. I mean, before this podcast, me and Jesse were talking about like a different topic. This is that different topic.
Yeah.
Are you willing to fall on the sword to make the organization better? That's what you're looking for a chief. It's a really, really, really deep thought chief is a deep thought as a chief of a volunteer organization. If you're the one willing to be burned at the pyre, then you're probably ready to be chief.
Yeah.
Don't shift blame, assume responsibility for everything.
Yep. And with that, that's a good stopping point.
Yeah. Ooh, I don't know if we could get any more deep than that.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
So with all that said, Uh, I'm not going to go through the full spiel. You know how to find us. It tastes like burningcast at gmail.com. You can probably put the rest of it together for YouTube, Patreon, X, on and on.
Hit the description. It's all in the description, right?
Right.
And don't forget to hit that merch store, right? And don't forget to hit the Hot Takes podcast on Spotify. That was a good time. I really enjoyed that. I'm hoping that they get some more listeners out of that. That Kim's doing amazing work over there, and I know that. Believe me, I know more than anybody how hard it is to build a following with a podcast.
Yeah. What are we? Are we coming up on year 4?
Good Lord. Possibly. Yes. March will start year 4.
Jesus.
Yeah. So just take it from an old hand. It's hard. But if you truly like it and you love what you're doing and you have a knack for gabbing, which Matt and I both have, so it's pretty easy. So, but other than that,
This Matt.
this is Jesse.
Have a good evening.